Okay, good morning, everyone. As always, it's good to see you. Hope you're all keeping well. I'm going to start with a few housekeeping items that Mark's already put in the chat. But if you have any questions, make sure you add them to the chat window as we go along. The session's going to be recording, and you'll get links to the YouTube site in the following days from our marketing department. Okay, so today I'm going to look at some further updates to Microsoft Copilot and Copilot Chat, while I'll be joined by Callum from AvePoint, who will introduce their sessions in the second half of this presentation. Okay, so I'm going to start with a recap of what I did last month. So some of you will have seen this before. So Microsoft renamed the free Copilot license to Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Now, Microsoft Copilot is now reserved for the personal or home version of the product. And the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat version reasons over data from the web. You should all have a copy of this for your staff in your Microsoft 365 tenancy. Now, as well as changing the name, there are some upgrades to the product. Firstly, it's embedded in the Microsoft 365 app, and you can embed it into Outlook and Teams, although it doesn't reason over Outlook and Teams. It now includes Pages, which is an editor where you can work on responses from Copilot prompts and share and collaborate those prompts in Pages. Some more useful ones, I think. You can now upload files into the prompt in the free chat version, and it will reason over the data in that file. You can ask questions on coding to it now, and you can create and edit images as well. However, all of those three have limits applied to them, such as the number and size of files you can upload. There is also some new management support for the chat tool, and probably the most important of all is that it now has support for Copilot agents. I'm going to talk more about agents in a minute. Again, recapping, when you compare the paid version, which is Microsoft 365 Copilot, to the chat version, the paid version includes Copilot Chat, and both are secure in your own Office 365 tenancy. And neither train the underlying ChatGPT large language model. Moving on to the differences between the two versions, the main ones are Microsoft 365 Copilot is built into your Office apps like Teams, Outlook, Word, and PowerPoint, to name a few, and allows you to prompt and edit within the document itself. It is also grounded in Office 365. So grounding means it accesses your data in OneDrive and SharePoint. This enables you to prompt and generate content that reasons over your work data as well as the web. The data you can see and reason over is dependent on the security that is set up in Office 365 and referenced in the graph. You can also query Teams meeting transcripts or summarize daily emails. You can create Word documents from scratch or ask questions of long documents, create a PowerPoint based on that document, and analyze data in Excel. You can do this all in the paid version. The paid version also supports agents, and Microsoft sees agents as a way for establishments to use AI in the day-to-day work to save time with specific repetitive tasks. They are building pre-built agents for this version of Copilot. One of the most anticipated is the live interpreter or translator for Teams meetings. There are a lot of differences between chat and Microsoft 365 Copilot, but the differences are beginning to blur with more features being added to Microsoft 365 Copilot chat, like file upload and agent support. Copilot Studio, now this is a platform that allows you to create and customize AI agents using Gen AI and low-code tools to create your agents. These agents can be based on your Microsoft 365 data in SharePoint and OneDrive, but it can also connect to third-party resources with the aid of 1,500 pre-built connectors. Recently, Microsoft have announced some exciting new features into Copilot Studio with deep reasoning, automation or agent flows, and autonomous agent functionality. So those have all just been added to Copilot Studio. Deep reasoning gives you critical thinking abilities using the reasoning models. Integrates with the new flow functionality to add manual steps where needed, and can be triggered by 50 different triggers, such as an email to automate a holiday request by the autonomous agent. These features should be available to you now, but I know what Microsoft are like. They might not be there yet, but they will be with you soon. As I've mentioned, these agents you can create can be based on your Microsoft 365 data in SharePoint and OneDrive. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. Imagine you create an agent to provide easy access to HR data to answer questions like, how many holidays do I have left? Because the Microsoft Copilot chat platform, the free one, can now access that SharePoint data and reason over it, we are again blurring the differences between versions. However, from a Microsoft viewpoint, accessing graph data is a premium feature of the paid version. So what you can do is you can use Copilot Studio Messages with the free Copilot chat license and pay for a limited tenancy reasoning solution on a pay-as-you-go basis. Currently, some of the complex agents cannot run in the free version of Copilot, but according to Microsoft, that functionality is coming soon. Okay, again, recapping, when you look at Copilot Studio and agents, there are several ways to achieve this. Firstly, you can purchase Copilot Studio Message Packs, which come in bundles of 25,000 per month, and you can buy multiples of those. This is tenant-based, so all agents use messages from an available pool. You can also purchase on a pay-as-you-go basis via an Azure subscription if you don't see that you're going to be close to that 25,000 per month. Or finally, you can just get the paid Microsoft 365 Copilot license because agents are included in the price. Now, this is where things get a little complicated. Microsoft assigns different weights to different message types based on the amount of compute resource each message takes up. So if it's a heavy AI task, you will need more messages when you do that. But what Microsoft have done, I think starting this month, they've reduced the number of messages needed to carry out some of these heavier AI tasks, like agent actions. They now require 5 messages instead of the previous 25 messages. And graph grounding, so accessing your Office 365 data in chat, now only needs 10 messages opposed to the previous 30 messages. Okay. So with the new features in Copilot Studio, Microsoft have created 2 new agents basically to show off this new functionality. Both of these versions should be available for the paid Microsoft 365 Copilot users in April through what's called a frontier program that allows you to access innovations in Copilot that are still in development. So firstly, there's the researcher agent. It's based on the OpenAI o3 model, and it helps you tackle complex multi-step research tasks at work, giving better quality and insights than before. It's going to work through your SharePoint and OneDrive data, your emails. It's going to go through it a step at a time. And it will also go through things like external resources, such as Dynamics and Salesforce via connectors. Not only does it respond to a prompt, but it will come back to you with qualifying questions to make sure that it's giving you what you expect. Have a look at the blog for more information. It's quite useful. Another agent they have created is the Analyst Agent, also based on the o3 model. It acts like a data scientist reasoning over raw data from multiple sources and providing rich insights in minutes. It uses chain of thought reasoning. That means it goes through the process step by step to get to the answer, and it uses Python for complex tasks. You can see its workings in real time. It shows its calculations as it goes through the process. So both those agents are on that blog, and they're quite worth a look at. So that was a quick recap and overview of the changes that have happened in the last month or so. Make sure to check out the blogs because there's some useful information on there. Okay, now it's my pleasure to introduce you to Callum. Callum Noad from AvePoint, who's going to go through products that they have to offer. Callum, over to you.
Lovely, thank you very much. Let me share my screen and we will kick things off. Cool, so I'm Callum from AvePoint. Today we'll do a quick dive into who we are, what we do, and how we can assist with things like AI readiness, as well as security and operational effectiveness in general. So just to introduce us, if you aren't familiar with AvePoint, this is us. The platform itself has many prongs. So it's all about bringing data together with things like migration tools, protecting that data with backup tools, assessing that data for vulnerability and exposure, which is what we're going to be diving a bit more into today, along with optimization and efficiency. Basically, how can we make 365 even better than it already is, and kind of include something for every stakeholder in the business to enjoy or make better for them. So this is kind of a typical customer journey, or what someone might follow if they are using AvePoint. There is a focus on the lower half of this graphic. I appreciate the top half is grayed out a little bit, but that's the kind of half that we're going to be looking at today. It's this in general is essentially what I loosely mentioned already, and it's more just to highlight that there is something for everyone, regardless of where they are on a digital transformation, all the way from sort of migrating data in from legacy systems, getting that data kind of ready in the cloud for something like Copilot as well. So there'll be a big focus on Copilot today too. So yeah, the highlighted parts are what we're really going to focus on, probably a bit less on the user adoption and enablement side of things as well, but it is there. So the first limb of AvePoint that we're going to be looking into today is Opus. Opus is a bit of a Swiss Army knife for data management. The focus we're taking with this basically is how can we clean up your cloud data. So these are the 4 things that Opus really does at a kind of bird's eye view. In an ideal world, data gets managed in a way where we kind of address it by its usefulness, its security, and sort of life cycle automatically. What we want to do is ensure that storage is being used in the most optimal way, whilst improving data quality and reducing its risk, which is really, really important when we're looking at things like Copilot. How can we make sure that the best data is being considered when we're building content using Copilot, or when we're using Copilot chat, we're getting the best and clearest responses out of it. So to kind of a bit more detail on all of these, significantly lowering storage costs. That's probably the most common use case for Opus using AvePoint. It's basically a lot of people end up using way too much SharePoint storage than what they anticipated. They end up in the little red bit when the green bar of capacity turns to red, and it gets a bit scary, gets a bit expensive. So how are we able to achieve cost savings? And we do that by managing data storage efficiently, and that helps you kind of avoid unexpected charges and stuff like that. That's one of the things we'll be going over today in a bit more detail. But then we can also do things like automate data lifecycle processes to streamline management. So how often do our teams and SharePoint sites get reviewed? How often are we looking into the data that's within them and kind of understanding, is this still relevant? Do we still need this? What can we do with it? We give clear insights and kind of recommendations as well. So how do we sort of benefit from these reports? So we'll give you clarity on the data health, its usage patterns, and any sort of opportunities to optimize that data. We'll minimize exposure to regulatory penalties and security threats as well by proactively managing data sprawl. So as data ages, as it reaches certain kind of compliance or retention, say restrictions or guidelines, what can we do about that, and how can we automate that process so that it doesn't have to be a huge part of my day worrying about, are we at a retention limit? Are we at a security risk of this data? And then improve data quality and accessibility. We're basically telling Opus to remove or archive data based on conditions. Show me this sort of data, and then what I can then do is remove it from 365 workspaces. So when we remove this sort of old, rubbish, outdated information, that's how we're really kind of improving Copilot. So it's a bit of a there's two key deliverables from Opus if we're looking at it from a Copilot perspective. One of them is, we're kind of making sure the output of Copilot is going to be clean, it's going to be relevant, it's going to be the data which is the most up to date. And the other half of it is we're just kind of making SharePoint cheaper overall. So this just sort of elaborates on some of the options we have whilst using Opus. Like I say, Swiss Army knife. So we can declare data as immutable, apply tags, apply retention policies, move the data elsewhere, archive it, or we can remove it completely or export it out of 365. So using a combination of these, we'll achieve some lovely organized data ready for Copilot, or just sort of satisfy some housekeeping concerns if we're not quite at the Copilot stage. So this is where we start getting into how we do it. So what this screenshot is, this is kind of building out filters for some reports that I want to build using Opus. So what I'm trying to achieve with these particular filters, I want to report on legacy Office files, legacy notes, legacy videos, pictures, zip files, and just other legacy files as well. So just show me data which is old and outdated. If you've got kind of old spreadsheets, Word docs, or service documentation from 2019 or something like that, do we necessarily want that coming up in an automated Copilot response if I'm then giving that information to someone else? So if you take AvePoint, for example, we've got loads of service documentation available for everyone, and we use Copilot, or we have another version of it, Chat AVPT is what we call it internally. And I use that all the time to get documentation or little blurbs about services and things like that. So if we're using old documentation from old releases, and I was to pass on some of that information to you guys, it's already outdated. I might have used something new to generate that content, but it's all based on old things. So this is kind of step one, building out the reports. Show me this type of data. We'll also report on loads of other things. This is very highly customizable as well. These are just some examples. We also look at version history. We also look at customized file types. If you use AutoCAD, if you want to identify PSTs, or if you're a big Photoshop house using like PSDs and those sort of file types, yeah, we can identify all of that stuff as well. So these are the reports that come back. So you can kind of see some of the information it's given me on there. So it's given me a total file count, data size. So again, things I may have already known, but just under one roof, and contextualized with things like version size. So 2700 gigabytes in just old versions. So there's potentially some work that I can do there in Opus to go and identify versions over a certain number and either completely remove them from 365 or archive them, whatever I want to do there. But you can also see how we sort of visualize that as well. So you've got that tree where it says ROT 1353 gig. ROT is redundant, obsolete, and trivial data. And then again, we're breaking it down further so you can see what contributes to this. So we can see, yeah, our legacy Office files, 15 gig, legacy videos, pictures, zips, 16 gig. So really what we've done with this report is, right, here's a bunch of conditions of data that I don't want in my environment. It will turn around and give you this report and say, here's where they live, here's what the files are, and then this is what we do with them. So we use those filters again to kind of queue up that data to be archived or destroyed from the environment. So this is typically what we would do from sort of day one or day two or week one using Opus. It's the kind of first footsteps. Go and identify a bunch of data that I don't want to see within my 365 workspaces, and then we'll use those filters to remove them from 365. So this is how we actually achieve cleaner data ready for Copilot. So that's one part of Opus, that kind of initial, we get in the door, we have a look at the data, we give you a state of play, and then we do a couple of things. But I mean, ideally what we want is to automate that process. It would be quite cumbersome for you to be going through and building those reports every month or every couple of months and kind of starting from scratch. So what we're able to do is recreate those filters in rules and have them automatically apply every week or every couple of days or something like that. It's entirely up to you how often they get applied. Everyone's got a different environment. So the screenshot we're looking at here, this is a rule based on modified time. So what you would essentially be able to configure is when data hasn't been modified in more than, I typically use 3 years as a bit of a guide. Data's not been modified in 3 years. It's not being played with anymore. No one's using it. Archive it. So I implement that for most people that I use Opus with, and that gets really, really good results. We do leave stubs in place as well, so you are able to access this data from the AvePoint archive. You can also go through the restore process as well if end users do want this data back. But this is a really kind of good starting point. And you can kind of see by the drop down here, there's loads of different ways that we can identify and archive data automatically. So this is where those rules are then applied. So even though we built out these rules, they don't just then take a big swing at 365 and go and destroy a load of data. You do then have to cherry pick where these rules are going to be applied. And you can apply them across the board, absolutely. But if you've got different types of data which have different requirements in terms of compliance or retentions and things like that, then you can build out different rules for different locations or different SharePoint sites. And this is just an example of that. Something else which is really important from this screenshot as well is the simulate button. So up here we've got run storage optimization job. That's kicking it off manually. You can schedule this to run automatically as well. So typically I'll turn them on for 1 a week. But you've also got the simulation. So if you've built out loads of really what you think are great rules, you think it's going to take a huge impact, it's going to remove loads of old rubbish data from 365, but there's a concern over the impact of this, yeah, run it as a simulation. Absolutely every time I go to do an archiving or destroying job, I'm simulating it first. And that just gives me a report of here's how much data would get destroyed in terms of volume, here's what those files are specifically, here's the SharePoint sites they lived under. So I'm able to understand, am I doing the right thing? Is this removing the right data? Am I going to ruin anyone's day by doing this? And this is the sort of thing you can do on a trial with AvePoint as well. So if you pick up a 30-day no commitment trial license, you can go in, you can build those reports, you can build these rules, you can run these simulations, and you can get an understanding of how impactful is this going to be for me. And naturally, just like any sort of SaaS tool, really, there's a ton of reporting. But this is probably the best one. So you can see on the right-hand side of that dashboard, you've got a yearly saving. So what you're able to do with this is configure how much, well, you input how much you pay for SharePoint storage, then how much you pay for archive storage. And then we'll give you how much money you've saved based on that. The archive storage is a ton cheaper than SharePoint storage, absolutely. So this is where we're getting this information from. So this is a really nice one for the people with the purse strings. If you're putting your hand in your pocket to pay for a solution that can save you money, you actually want the evidence that it does that. So this is just a really nice, simple report of, yes, you are saving money. Here's how much money you're saving, and here's where you're saving it from. So this is my favorite report, but we have a ton other ones as well. So that's Opus. That's more on the kind of data cleanliness. What we're going to look at now for the last couple of minutes is policies and insights. And this is based on data security. So how sensitive is the information I've got within 365, and then how exposed is that data? Basically, show me where compliance would have an absolute nightmare. So this is kind of where the idea behind this comes from. So we've got all these kind of workspaces pulling in and pulling data into 365 and just making it an absolute mess. They create all of those problems, security, access rights, compliance, all of these things are issues when you've got a sprawling 365 data environment. So what AvePoint is doing is pulling that in using a data orchestration engine and then providing insights. We're able to automate a load of processes as well. So where you've got problems, we can automatically fix them. You can delegate these tasks out as well. So if you are an IT admin, the onus is not completely on you. You can delegate tasks to the data owners of the SharePoint sites to fix those problems. And we also have some self-service tools for end users as well. Oops. So there is absolutely something for everyone within what we call the control suite portion of the AvePoint platform. So it benefits everyone on here. As I said, IT administrators, they can focus on the critical stuff which actually needs their attention because they're able to give, or they're able to delegate those smaller jobs to employees or data owners. The security heads, they've got really, really detailed reports of their biggest red flags. Show me the most sensitive information, combine that with how exposed is it, and let's just get down to the big problems first. Employees have their self-service tools as well, so they can spin up new workspaces, new SharePoint sites, team sites with guardrails built into it. And business stakeholders, they need to know that their investment in 365 is still kind of being fully utilized, but in a secure way. And especially when we're looking at Copilot as well, are we going to get the most out of our Copilot investment, being that it's quite expensive and there's quite a lot of data risk. I'll speed up. I've just realized what the time is. So yeah, I get to summarize what insights and policies does. Find and prioritize. Show me the red flags first. Monitor and fix. So some automatic stuff that we can kick into play with this as well. And then how can we prevent this from happening again as well with some more, some further tools. So this is a quick look at insights. So this is the main dashboard. So you can see there's loads of places we can go. There's loads of different areas we can investigate. So you've got risk analysis, exposure, users. So as well as looking at sensitivity and exposure, we're also looking at external users and things like that, and sharing links. How many links have you got that have been shared anonymously so that anyone who's got that URL can just click on it and access data? You can also do things like a complete audit of who has access to SharePoint sites. So if you need to have a quick dive into who can actually get into this data, all the way down to file level, all of that stuff's possible with insights as well. Policies pretty much does what it says on the tin. it applies policies to fix those problems. Insights goes and finds all of these issues, policies fixes it. To put really, really simply anyway. So you can see we've got a couple of examples. Scan for orphaned users, sharing link expiration enforced. So if you have got loads of sharing links out there, we'll expire them and we'll make sure they keep on expiring if they get shared in a way which is against your best practices. Loads and loads of different things. There's a lot we can do, but it's all based on the recommendations you find in insights. So we'll find your biggest problems and then recommend policies to fix them. So there is a link up between the two, and it's not all kind of going in blind. So we do have, so we don't have to read all of this. I appreciate we're at time. So we do have loads and loads of customers, public sector, education, which have used a combination of all of the tools on our platform. So this is just one, New Zealand government. They moved to SharePoint and 365 and they needed to make sure it was being managed properly in terms of content. They needed to make sure it was compliant. So that's when they brought in Opus. They brought in a couple of other tools as well, governance and backup, which we didn't really look into, and AvePoint Insights. Again, we're at time. So if you want more kind of use cases and things like that, we can provide them. Always more than happy to have a conversation with you guys as well, put you in touch with someone. But yes, thank you very much. That was a very quick look into some of the areas of the AvePoint platform. I do absolutely welcome questions. If you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, please do so. If you've got my email address from this webinar, again, reach out. More than happy to field any questions or provide any further information for you guys. But thank you very much.
You're on mute, Eifion.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we are.
Apologies. Right. Thanks, Callum. Excellent session. I thought some excellent products in there as well, more importantly, that can assist people with their data in Office 365. So basically, the next webinar is going to be on the 14th of May. Not the third Wednesday in the month, but we're doing that to avoid clashing with the conference in Gregornog on the next week. We'll confirm the topic as soon as we've confirmed it. So I'm going to pass you over to Mark to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Eifion. Yeah, no questions at the moment, but please send them through if you did have any. And I'm just going to launch the poll quickly, the usual one. So we do appreciate if you can just fill that in. It only takes sort of 10 seconds or so. So that should be popping up now. Yeah, just to follow up what you said there, Eifion. So we are at Gregornog on the 21st, I believe it is. So of May, so that will be clashing. So we have brought the next one forward a week. If there are any Welsh colleges, Welsh FEs here today, Eifion will be at Gregornog. So if you are heading there, it'll be a good chance to catch up with Eifion, and we are joined by AvePoint as well, so you can sort of delve into their solutions a bit deeper there then as well. So yeah, like I said, if you do have any questions, please send them on. But in terms of sort of kicking things off, I know there's quite a few different modules, Callum, but do you want to just explain very sort of high level how some of those, especially the ones you've shown today, would be typically licensed, just so people have a sort of general idea?
Yeah, absolutely. So Opus can be modular, so you don't have to take every single tool of the Swiss Army knife. If you just wanted to look at kind of storage optimization, then we can do that. If you wanted to look into the life cycle stuff, you can also add that to it. It is case by case, so it kind of depends on, there is a volume aspect of it. How much data do you anticipate you're going to be archiving from SharePoint and placing into AvePoint, or your own storage for that matter as well? There is a bring your own storage option. So it kind of depends on volume. For policies and insights, the security stuff, that's all user based. It's beating hearts. Does this object in 365 have a heartbeat behind it? So we're licensing on your users. So we look into things like SharePoint sites, shared mailboxes, all that kind of stuff. that's just all included behind the Beating Heart module. If you've got 100 staff members, it's 100 licenses for AvePoint, and that encompasses Teams, SharePoint, everything.
Cool. Thank you very much. Right, yeah, so there's no questions coming through, but like I said, if anyone is heading to Grug or Nog, please think of some questions and we can follow up with you in May then as well. You can delve a bit deeper into those solutions, but for now, I think it's back to you, Eifion.
Okay, so it's with me to say thank you again. We very much appreciate your attendance in these meetings. Thanks for your time. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.